The views and opinions expressed on America's Workforce Union podcast and its digital media channels are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the producers or sponsors.
Welcome to the America's Workforce Radio Podcast, the flagship production of the American Workers Radio and Podcast Network, where organized labor and its never-ending fight to protect the rights of the American worker come first. Now, presented by LIUNA, Laborers International Union of North America. Here's your host, Ed Flash Ferentz.
The Machinists Union fighting to protect jobs at NASA. Meanwhile, a win for film workers in Columbus, Ohio, and AFSCME Council 8. And today on the show, Boilermakers Local 154 in Western Pennsylvania. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 7th edition of America's Workforce, where we are available on at least 5 platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. Featured guest today is Shawn Steffee. Today is Trades Day here on America's Workforce, every Tuesday and Thursday. We focus on a specific trade, and today it's Boilermakers Local 154 in Western Pennsylvania. This local goes back to 1894 when the city of Pittsburgh was still known as the Smoky City. Right now, they have just shy of about 900 members. Here's the website you want to go to is Boilermakers Local 154.com. That's all one word. Boilermakers, that's plural. Boilermakers Local 154.com. Shawn began working as a Boilermaker well over 20 years ago in 2002, serving in numerous supervisory roles throughout his career. Back in 2017, he was elected as Local 154 Executive Board Trustee and began working actively with the local. He was appointed Business Agent in 2018 and then reelected as an Executive Board Trustee in 2020. He's going to talk about the work in Western Pennsylvania with power plants and data centers. And you probably got a good indication by listening to the show of the importance of data centers. Now, there's been a lot of pushback around America on these data centers. But in this case, not all of them, but in this case, they have the power for the data center. It's not going to hurt the community. A lot of communities are seeing electric rates rise, but we're talking about natural gas plants on the data center facility that's going to power the facility. And this is creating lots of jobs. And not just, temporary things. I mean, this is years ahead. These data centers are much needed. And Shawn Steffee is going to explain the role of the Boilermakers making those data centers. Pretty powerful stuff. It really is. Steam turbines, rigging, welding, you name it. Now, a brief look into the world of labor. This segment brought to you by Boyd Watterson Asset Management. You can find more at boydwatterson.com. They've got $38 billion and growing. $38 billion in assets under advisement. The Machinists Union is calling on members and allies to speak out against NASA's poorly defined workforce initiative. It's called Restoring NASA's Core Competencies. Well, if you take a deep dive into this idea would eliminate thousands of federal contract positions across the agency and replace them with civil service jobs. The Machinists Union, and this is all posted on goiam.org. They're one of the great sponsors here of America's Workforce. We appreciate all the work that they do. I mean, they have well over 600,000 members. For decades, highly skilled IAM-represented workers employed under the Service Contract Act have helped ensure NASA's success through their expertise, dedication, and commitment to safety. The IAM is deeply concerned that disrupting this proven workforce model could create unnecessary risks, increase costs, and undermine the stability that has supported NASA's missions for generations. Now, NASA, according to the Machinists, has provided few details about the plan, including which jobs would be affected, how many workers could lose their positions, and what impact the changes would have on mission safety, mission success, costs, and schedules. Despite these unanswered questions, implementation appears to already be underway at some facilities. The Machinists Union says Congress must demand answers and halt this so-called workforce restructuring. At a minimum, implementation of this initiative should be paused until NASA fully discloses its plans and conducts a comprehensive study of the impact on workers, taxpayers, and mission success. The union is calling on you, listening to this show, to send a letter to members of Congress and urge them to oppose what they call a reckless workforce overhaul. You can read more about this on the Machinist website, goiam.org. Take action, tell Congress to protect NASA's workforce and mission. I mean, safety. You think about what NASA does. You want to make sure you have the best of the best working on this. After a unanimous vote, this is out of Columbus, Ohio, this story, workers at Gateway Film Center have ratified their first union contract. The victory comes after Gateway Film Center United voted to form their union with AFSCME Ohio Council 8. This goes back to November of 2024. That's how long it took to get a contract. Ashby Doherty is an admissions and membership services associate and member of the contract negotiations team. Ashby says, this contract represents a huge win and delivers stability for our team that has been sorely needed. With systems in place to allow employees to grow, reasonable annual wage increases, a path for part-timers to build to full-time employment, along with improvements to scheduling and training, well, we have made Gateway a better place for us to work, and I'm very excited about the future. Among the wins that workers were able to negotiate were gains in regular and predictable scheduling, on-call pay for relevant positions, formal and impartial grievance procedures, paid and unpaid leave protections, work attire stipends, and much, much more. The wins show the power that comes from being able to sit across from management and negotiate working conditions on the job. The workers at the Gateway Film Center are proud of the work they do. They just want to get compensated for it, according to Doherty. She points out this is our first contract, and it represents a great deal of dedication, patience, and solidarity from the entire local. By the way, AFSCME Ohio Council 8 represents cultural workers in museums, art centers, film centers, and zoos across the state of Ohio. More than 50,000 workers at such institutions throughout the country have gained a voice on the job through the AFSCME Cultural Workers United campaign, which is the largest of its kind in the nation. They have been on a roll. A lot of this started right after the pandemic when they closed up a lot of those museums. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our featured guest, Shawn Steffee, business agent of Boilermakers Local 154. Back in a few minutes, you're listening to America's Workforce.
You're listening to America's Workforce with Ed Flash Ferens.
It takes LiUNA to build North America's infrastructure. From roads and bridges to schools and skyscrapers, the men and women of LiUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, build the projects we depend on. From constructing the Freedom Tower on the site of the former World Trade Center to untangling Washington, D.C.'s congested interstate, LiUNA members do the work that matters. Find out what it takes to be built by LiUNA at liuna.org. That's liuna.org.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, where you can find more at teamster.org.
America's Workforce is sponsored in part by Boyd Watterson Asset Management, LLC. Find out more about our investment solutions tailored to meet the needs of Taft-Hartley funds at boydwatterson.com.
There is is unity and strength for workers.
We are the USW.
We are the USW.
The United Steelworkers.
The largest industrial union in North America.
We represent 850,000 members in the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean.
We work in metals,
rubber,
chemicals,
paper,
oil refining,
atomic energy, and the service sector.
We are steelworkers, standing strong and fighting for what's right.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers. You can find more at ifpte.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Ironworkers. You can find more at ironworkers.org.
America's Workforce appreciates our sponsor, the Columbus Central Ohio Building and Construction Trades Council, who represents more than 18,000 workers from 19 affiliated local unions and district councils.
Now, back to America's Workforce. Here's Ed Flash Farrens.
And remember, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast, AWF Union Podcast. You know, there's been a lot of discussion in various parts of the country about data centers. A lot of communities say, well, we're building too many of them. It's going to suck up too much electricity. Well, the trades have a different story on that. And also, we do need data centers. We live in a technological world today, and to support that, we need data centers. Let's be honest about it. Joining us on our live line is Shawn Steffee. Shawn is a business agent for the Boilermakers Local 154 out of Pittsburgh. The local Lodge 154 was officially chartered on November 17th, 1894, when Pittsburgh was still known as the Smoky City. That was a different time in America. Shawn, welcome to America's Workforce. I know Pittsburgh has changed dramatically over the years. I'm not going to talk about football here. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. The rivalry, rivalry between the Browns and the Steelers, man, 4 times. How many? No, what am I saying? There was four times with Bradshaw going to the Super Bowl, and then 2 more times after that or something. We can't even make it. We can't even get to the Super Bowl. So you know what they're doing here in Cleveland? They're building a new stadium, hopefully to attract the Super Bowl. Not necessarily that the Browns are going to play there, but that might be our only ticket. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And I tell you, I got a lot of friends in Pittsburgh. The Steelworkers are based there. They're one of the proud sponsors of America's Workforce. So I thank you for joining us. Talk to me a little bit about yourself. I know you want to get into the data centers, but a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the Boilermakers. Let's start right there.
I live actually in Indiana County, Pennsylvania. Okay. An old coal town. I've watched as manufacturing left, coal jobs left, and about 4 years ago, we launched the Homer City power plant. The coal-fired power plant, which was the largest in PA, I think, at the time. I've watched the economy, go in the bucket. I've watched young men and women, leaving the area. I've watched school districts shrink, and I see what's coming here in the future, just like what's happening in Homer City right now, like a breath of air as far as the economy goes. And for me, I did work in the manufacturing sector locally. I worked at FMC. I worked at Star Manufacturing. All them jobs went away, and then I got myself in the apprenticeship in the Boilermakers, and it's been a great career. And I would like to pass that on to young men and women and give them a great family-sustaining wage and a pension and annuity and the building trade unions.
How many members now in 154?
So we're right around 870 members. We had a period there for about 4 years, where we did not even take an apprentice in. My business manager, we just couldn't take anybody in. We didn't have the work here. And now last year we took 100, and we're on pace to take another 175 in July. And we need more. We need more young men and women, and the rest of the trades need them to build out what we're just about ready to talk about, power generation and data centers.
There you go. Yeah, we'll get into that. So specifically, what do the Boilermakers do? when it comes to the data centers here.
I hear this all the time. Boilermakers, is that the Purdue mascot? Is that a shot in the beer? No. We're high-pressure tube welders and master, riggers. The steam that goes through the tubes that goes to the turbine, that spins a turbine, creates electricity. That's what we do. We weld and put in, we build the boiler, and we do the stacks and the ductwork. So a good way to make an understanding of that, it would be like having a brand new truck without an engine and an exhaust, okay? So what energy is to an economy, the boiler is the heart of a power plant, okay? And that's what we do with the rest of the trades. But we also are involved in the nuclear end. We're steel mills, petrochemical plants. We have equity and compressor stations on the gas side of it. So anything that has to do basically in the fossil fuel industry infrastructure, we have a piece of that. And, we're moving forward, and it's never been brighter than right now.
Okay, so what's the status of the data centers in that area of Pennsylvania? And I bring this up because there's a lot of pushback by various communities here, and I'd like you to speak to that. Why it's important that we need to move forward with this.
I'm just going to use the example. Homer City, is now transitioning into a new power campus with 7 natural gas units, 4,200 megawatts, with the future building out hyperscale data centers there, which will mean 3,500 building and construction labor jobs just alone out of the building trades on that one particular site, okay? The data center thing, I know everybody's the water consumption, the electricity, the water consumption, not are going to the closed loop part, that is going to be taken care of. The noise is really, I don't, in my opinion, I don't see an issue with the noise. I would say it's louder, mowing your grass or in the city with the air conditioning units. I've talked to people that's been through data centers, no hearing protection. They're quiet. They basically look like hospitals, but they're full computers. We need that technology, just like you spoke earlier. It's everybody's everyday life. From watching Netflix TV to streaming to Facebook, TikTok, online banking, along with, the AI that needs to go towards medical and things like that. It is the future. And my opinion, we need to be the leader in it, and we have the ability to do that right here in Southwestern PA. We got all these old brownfield sites that are perfect fits to build these up, build these at. Just like Homer City, we got El Rama, we got Reesdale, we got Masontown, all former coal sites that nothing is being built on. These are the perfect locations. They're away from people's homes. They have the acreage, they have the infrastructure already in place, they have the water, and these things can get built. And there's only one way to do this. We got to build our way out here. We need to build out reliable electricity that goes with that, its own power generation, and we need to put these data centers in. And the pushback coming from so many people, I don't understand, because every one of them wants the luxuries that come with this transition, but they don't want to see it. And somebody has to build it, and we're energy rich right here in Pennsylvania. We're an energy rich state. We have the second largest deposit of natural gas in North America, and we've really not even begun to tap into it. And I just think it's a no-brainer, and I think this is where we got to go, but we got to accept this and move forward. And I can't see why we can't take care of the environment and build out and create jobs and create a great economy. And we can do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah, some people don't understand that. I get it, Shawn. So, Shawn, let me ask you this. Where do we stand right now with these data centers? Are they in the planning process? You still got to go through the local communities to get them done. And I'm sure Boilermakers Local 154 is being as vocal as possible to make sure that this gets to the finish line. Maybe you can assess all that right now.
So, to keep going back, like the Homer City project, it's a go. They're going to build them data centers there. We're building the power block out right now. excuse me, they're going to move forward. There's other potential sites, and they have a lot of pushback. And I think this is where the frustration comes in. I've done some town hall meetings. All these people were under these NDA agreements. They're your local politicians. I think they need to be more forefront and tell them what's coming, what the local economy benefits will be, the tax, what it's going to do for your school districts, and, put to rest on the water use, put the rest on, your electricity prices are going to go up, because these places all want to build their own electricity generation, and it's going to be natural gas, okay? The future may be, nuclear, but we're still 10, 15 years down the road on that nuclear. So right now is when we got to do it, and there's no other way but to do it with natural gas. And the other thing you got to realize is these places that are building out the electricity generation are also going to help with the grid, okay? They're going to be able to put some of that power onto the grid and maybe, help the burden with high electricity prices. This is the only way we can, defeat this high electricity prices. We got to build, and we got to build. And the building trades and the Boilermakers were ready to take this challenge to build this out. For 5 to 6 years, we heard that we were going to reimagine what electricity generation and fossil fuels were going to look like, when all we needed to do was just go back to basics and build out the basic infrastructure that we all done in the past and we all know how to do. We went like 7 years without building a new power plant in Pennsylvania, and now here we are, we're at a shortfall. And we need to get on the ball and get moving, and we need to be upfront more with the communities. We need to be upfront more with what it means to the community, good or bad, and then way out. And I think the good is way bigger than the bad.
You mentioned nuclear power, and if you don't mind, in fact, we talked about what Tennessee is doing with nuclear power, and the nuclear power plants today are much different than from years ago. And in fact, I brought up in that conversation about 3 Mile Island, outside of Pittsburgh. I mean, we saw what happened there, and that was just one of several incidents where a lot of people said no more nuclear power, but now it's starting to come back. What you mentioned something like maybe 10 years away in that area, and is that part of this whole conversation with the data centers right now?
Yes, in my opinion, and it'll be the SMR, the small modular nuclear. TMI is going to put another unit on there. It's just about bringing it back to life. Yes, that is the future, but you got to realize how long it takes to get through permitting, regulations, and then, the consumable part to have like the steel, the rebar, the cement, everything that comes with that to build something out at this size. And right now, it's got to be natural gas. Nuclear definitely looks like it's going to be the future, or maybe in 10 years, there's something else that comes out that's even, better. But I can tell you, I'm not against renewables, but renewables can't cut the mustard. You need 100% reliable baseload electricity. And to kind of put it into hindsight there, if you were going to build out something of magnitude like Homer City at 4,200 megawatts, and the nuclear in the future can handle that and put that in a size facility, a 3,200 acre facility. But if you were going to do that with solar, you would need 25,000 acres and, tens of millions of solar panels. And that just that's not feasible. Okay. So, and it's still not reliable. We got to build out reliable baseload electricity. We got ourselves in an issue and a conundrum, if you ask me. And there's only one way out of it. It's to build. We got to build. We got to accept what we got to build, and we got to be number one in this coming as an American in the future. And I think Southwestern PA can play a large role in that with our natural resources and the ability with our workforce right here. I don't want to sound biased, but, Southwestern PA is second to none on building trades, if you ask me. We got the labor. We're proven. We built all the steel. We built all the coal. We built the nukes. We built the gas. We've done it with building trades labor.
I like that. Shawn, I want to take a quick break here. Shawn Steffee is our featured guest on the show today. He's business agent for Boilermakers Local 154. Here's a website you want to go to. It's Boilermakerslocal154.com. Shawn began working as a Boilermaker going back to 2002, serving in numerous supervisory roles throughout his career in the field. And back in 2017, he was elected as Local 154 Executive Board Trustee and began working actively with the Local 154 LEAP Committee, which we could talk about next right here on America's Workforce. Back in a few minutes. Don't go away.
You're listening to America's Workforce with Ed Flash Ferens.
It takes LiUNA to power North America with affordable energy. The men and women of LiUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, have the skills needed to build and maintain oil, natural gas, nuclear, solar, and wind projects that are shaping America's energy future. From new energy tech to retrofitted facilities, LiUNA members do it all. Find out what it takes to be powered by LiUNA at liuna.org. That's LIUNA.org.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. For more information, please visit bmwe.org.
The Ironworkers Great Lakes District Council, consisting of 8 ironworker local unions in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. We build the skylines and bridges along the Great Lakes. With more work than ever before, the Great Lakes District Council is actively searching out the next great ironworker, whether it's building the next Intel plant or constructing a bridge to safely connect our great cities along the lake. So join the Ironworkers Great Lakes District Council today. Find out how and learn more about the council by visiting iwdistrictcouncil.com. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the United Steelworkers. You can find more at usw.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Communication Workers of America. You can find more at cwa-union.org.
America's Workforce Radio is sponsored in part by the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 6, representing painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and sign and display industry workers. They remind you that belonging to a union is your right as an American.
Founded in 1887, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters represents the employees responsible for tirelessly constructing and maintaining the national rail system in America. For more than a century, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees has proven they have what it takes to protect its members and meet the ever-changing challenges of the rail industry. Today, the BMWED continues to fight for job security, fair wages, better benefits, and safer, more modern work environments. For more information, please visit bmwe.org. America's Workforce is presented by the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power right now at liuna.org.
Now, back to America's Workforce. Here's Ed Flash Ferens.
And don't forget, you can check us out on at least 5 platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. And when you get an opportunity, here's what you do. Just sign up and receive our shows on a regular basis and give us a rating. Always appreciate those 5-star ratings, so please keep them coming. Let's go back to our featured guest today on Trades Day here on America's Workforce. Shawn Steffee is his name. He is business agent for the Boilermakers Local 154 in Southwestern Pennsylvania. Boilermakers Local 154.com. And again, they were chartered back in 1894. Quite a legacy there for the Boilermakers. And we're talking about these data centers, and you mentioned this Homer City. There's a gas plant under construction right now, natural gas plant. And the funny part about this conversation, maybe it's not so funny, you got a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy. You need to put it somewhere. And obviously the data centers, and I think that's the big misnomer here, because I've had a number of conversations with the trades here in the state of Ohio, and the communities are saying, oh, they suck up all our electricity. I'm going to pay more for electricity. I want to take this opportunity, Shawn, to explain to our audience that, these are self-contained. You have these data centers that are more or less going to generate their own power. They're not going to take it from the community. You also mentioned water. I don't know how much water these are going to take. Why don't you specifically explain that part to our listeners. I know there's a lot of people listening. The trades are listening to this show, and communities are listening to this show, because these things have to happen. It's getting a little nasty out there in various communities, and this needs to be addressed, and it has to be addressed right away.
So just like the Homer City campus and all the other campuses that they want to build their own power generation with that campus that doesn't go affect what they're drawing off the grid, okay? So they want to build their own power plants, and then they want to sell that power to the grid too. So it's a win-win, okay? The jobs and everything that comes with it, the water consumption. And then listen, I'm not claiming to be the sharpest pencil in the box, but I Googled the other day water consumption on United States golf courses and water consumptions on data centers. Anybody can Google it. And Google AI told me that our golf courses in America use 30 to 40 times more water than the data centers we currently have in America. Okay. So I'm telling you what I Googled, and anybody can Google it. They went to a closed loop system. The water's almost like circulating like a radiator in your vehicle. And these places that they want to build this, like Homer City has their own reservoir that they built in 1970 to send the water to the coal fire plant. So they have their own water resource right there. That is a bonus to these places, and we have an abundant amount of water. Even all of our other coal fires have their own water source. So I kind of hope that gets put to rest. The electricity generation part of it, I think if you build out more power generation, that's the only way you're going to get your electricity bills down. We did something that I'm going to actually call stupid, and we started retiring too many facilities, with the climate hysteria we went through, and now we got ourselves in a grid reliability problem. There's only one way to get out of it, and that's to build, okay? And if anybody doesn't think we don't need the data centers and what comes with that, then I think they're highly mistaken. I go to a town hall meeting, I see all the no data center people there with the signs, and every one of them got their phones out. Every one of them are Googling. Most of their flyers are AI generated, and they're asked, why do we need data centers? Well, that's the reason we need them. Everybody's on their phone. Nobody wants to give up the luxuries that they have that comes with the technology. And I got to tell you another thing with that. If we're going to move forward and build out like the advanced manufacturing and robotics and stuff like that, we also need reliable baseload electricity. And if you're going to attract that advanced manufacturing, you got to have the energy that goes with it, the electricity generation. So the manufacturing of the future, the data centers, and grid reliability can only come from one thing, and that's building out new power. And that can be nuclear, gas, and even coal. I'm not against coal. It's reliable. Nuclear is reliable, but nuclear is only going to get so big right now until we can build out in the future. And gas is the one, it's pretty much the easy cookie cutter that, we can build these units in a couple years and get them online. So that I think that's the future, and that's just my opinion. And I've read the data. I think the data doesn't lie, and I can't see how anybody can not agree with me.
Shawn, you said it very, very well. And those listening right now, I'm sure at one time, probably several times, I remember when I moved in the community where I am now, there was a lot of building going on and the power went out. Sometimes it was out for a day. And if there's a violent storm, sometimes it's out for a week. When that power is out, well, you get pretty vocal. You're not too happy about that. Shawn, let me throw this at you. I mean, does it have to come to something like that where we won't be able to keep the lights on? And then maybe the community will understand, okay, Shawn Steffee was right. Maybe I should have listened to him. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with you. And I think people need to realize that, there's a lot more than just going and flicking the light switch on for the electric to come in, and what goes into that to make that happen. And I don't want to see us get there, but I'm telling you, the numbers are kind of scary that we're on track to probably go into blackout, brownout modes if we don't address this. If anybody just seen the last winter, we had, Winter Storm Fern, and we were on the cusp right there. We made it through, and, nobody wanted to say like, hey, Coal was producing, 30-some thousand megawatts. Gas was producing 60, and nuclear was producing 32,000 megawatts. And during a 4-day stretch, renewable at some points was producing 0. For 4 days, solar produced 0, and it was carried to load by our reliable baseload electricity. And that's why we need to build this out. Everybody, just like you said, when the lights don't come on, everybody's going to be up in arms, but there's a lot that goes into that process. And that process is, your upstream is, the fracking, whatever, the uranium out of the ground, the coal. Then it comes down to midstream, your transportation of that product, that natural resource into, compressor stations, pipelines, by truck, by train. And then it comes down to your downstream. Your downstream is like your power plant build out. And then you have the ripple effect off of that, which would be your data centers, your manufacturing, keeping your lights on, going to, your PUC and all these other things that, that we need. And that is at the end of the road. So we're forgetting about the whole process that starts way up here. And then we get down to this. Everybody doesn't realize what it takes from the upstream, midstream, and downstream to make your lights come on. And I think it's a lack of not being educated and not understanding what it takes to keep your lights on.
Yeah, we have to make sure that the public is educated, and we have to talk common sense here. I mean, you're a common sense guy. I could feel that through this podcast here. So I'm going to let you go. Anything else you want to wrap up on? I mentioned in the first segment about the local 154 LEAP committee. Can you explain what that is to our listeners?
Sure. So I'm our legislative guy here in 154. And if I could just take a minute. So, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I listened to sitting senators, representatives, a former governor of Pennsylvania, even the former president saying, hey, we need to reimagine what our fossil fuel energy. It's time that we're do away with that. And we're telling me that, my members need to retrain in green renewable energy. And when I asked, what is that training that these men and women need, I couldn't get an answer. And a lot of them people are gone right now. And the Boilermakers are still here, just like we've been here for 135 years. We don't need to reimagine how to produce electricity and energy. We need a swift kick in the ass to go back to reality, okay? And the Boilermakers are ready to do that. We've been doing this for 135 years. I've been building out, my men and women have been building steel mills, power plants, and we play a large role in that. We're not a shot in the beer, and we're not a mascot. We're the heart of a boiler and the heart of the power plant. And we want to take new young men and women in our trade. We're taking them in right now. And we want to continue. We want to build out. We accept the challenge here in the future, and we want to be a part of the future. And I don't care if you have an RD or an I in front of your name. Everyone is dependent on reliable electricity, and everybody's dependent on what the future brings, and we want to be a part of it.
I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up this podcast. The politicians are gone, but the Boilermakers remain and remain strong. I love it. I love it. Shawn Steffee, business agent, Boilermakers Local 154. Boilermakerslocal154.com is a website, and they cover a good chunk of Southwestern Pennsylvania. I love your attitude, brother. I really do. You have a seat here at the table on America's Workforce. Anytime you want to come back, I'm ready for you, okay?
You got it. I appreciate the opportunity to say my piece today, and I think it was informative.
And that'll be it for another edition of America's Workforce. Coming up tomorrow, the chief negotiator at SAG-AFTRA. Until then, all of you have a safe and wonderful day.
That concludes another episode of the America's Workforce Radio Podcast. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. America's